Hey guys, let's have a look at the movie review of the SRK starrer celluloid Dunki. Dunki dives into the sea of its substantial storyline, wherein Manu Randhawa, that is played by Taapsee Pannu, is restrictedly resting down on the binding beds of the hospital. As Manu manages to escape the containing clutches of the hospital, she goes on to authoritatively ask about the status of her visa that will stamp her sanction to her majestic motherland. Now, the subject line of the movie is quite strong here, wherein Hirani attempts to address a touching topic that strikes a sentimental chord into the souls of the subjects that cross the surface of countless seas and oceans to reach onto the arenas of their enormous aspirations. Now, the subject line picked here by the film's director had huge potential and scope in the stage of its playing time on screen, as there was so much that could be explored up here in its exceptional theme that the filmmaker had taken upon on his esteemed and tenacious shoulders as he looked to craft upon yet another cinematic experience for its audiences that is centered around the case of the need of attention on a certain societal issue. Now, talking about the execution part of this ambitious embarkment, I must say that I was really let down and disappointed by the film's weak storyline, the writing of which is accredited to the trio of Rajkumar Hirani, Abhijat Joshi and Kanika Dhillon, as the storyline does not do justice here to its stunning subject that it had held in its scarlet store. The film really suffers from a weak writing here that does not develop a needful central core of its chief characters, as it propels out the purpose of its primary characters in a very vacant and monotonous manner, wherein it addresses the desperate needs of its characters who want to cross the beautiful boundaries of their country in search of a better life, which is done in a manner that is very vagrant and mournfully miser. The film here diplomatically abstains from the real reasons that the five cute citizens of a celebrated country might lean upon to leave the lands of their long lineage and settle upon in the lands of an unknown territory, apart from that of the need of securing themselves the sums of figures that will satisfy their needs of a financial stability. The film here leaves some curious questions unanswered and some sensible plans vacant, where it does not address the unfortunate factual facets that their country might be suffering from, like the one of lack of an economic stability and ample employment opportunity for its massive masses. The film here just uses a one-liner by Taapsee Pannu in the second half of why it was risk-worthily rational to leave back the land of their ancestors and admirables, which is still done in a manner that omits and obviates certain prominent points, which obviously does not do justice to the question in hand. What further condemns to the film's weak writing is its lousy and lazy screenplay, where it makes a jeopardizing journey of five youngsters that could have been so much more, but instead it makes it up into a dragged up and dreadful drama that one becomes keen on draining and disposing of from its decorated desk. Coming to the part of the cinematography of the film, I think it's a nicely shot film that is credited to its praisable picturization by the noteworthy names of C.K. Muralidharan, Manas Nandan and Amit Roy, where they quite craftingly capture upon the scenes that have high tension and thuggishness. In its spotlighted scenes of tremendous tightness, and it quite skillfully sways upon the scenes that has its moments of lightness and emotional elevation entailed in its central core. One of the other saving graces of the film is its sensational, soothing and sorrow-saluted soundtrack that is composed by its compelling crafter and canorous crusader of Pritham, wherein Lut Put Gaya, O Mahi, Chal Pe Watna, Nikle The Kabhi Hum Ghar Se sonorously swivels out the film's sentimental and soft-hearted sentiments and spells upon a scintillating and spectacular soundtrack for its attuning audiences. There are some parallels that I would like to draw here with the other films of SRK and Rajkumar Hirani to highlight where the film falls flat on its face, wherein it propels out to be a poor project as compared to the soaring standards of these two loved and lauded legends. The first parallel I would like to draw out here is with Lage Raho Munna Bhai, where the film is considered as one of the most phenomenal and peakiest projects to have been helmed by Hirani, whereas the new film lacks the smart comedy that this charming and celebrated cinematic sensation achieved up all those years ago. One of the film's fragments has us seeing its four forefronts drinking in the darks of the night that takes you straight back to the scenes of Munna and Circuit as they hemmed out a hilarious comical sequence that is cherishly considered as the one for the ages. Dunki, on the other hand, here has neither the compelling comic timing nor those powerful punches that made Lage Raho Munna Bhai the celebrated and charmistic classic that is still cherished upon in this realm of rageous and rough ruthlessness. The second comparison I want to draw here is with the Ashutosh Gawarika's Swades, where the film so perfectly plays out the poignant emotions of SRK's character, and that too with just one song that it steered upon its human, but which perfectly and conqueringly captures why its chief character needed to go back to his caring and compassionate country, where without it he seems to have everything but still nothing, which makes him want to go back to the land he calls his home. Dunki, on the other hand, never explores out the vulnerability and the vacant vibe that these characters could have caught upon the way, where it just straightforwardly spills out the beans, while never going in depth to the melancholy and miserableness that these characters must have gone through without the comfort of their closed ones. The third parallel I would like to draw here is with the film Veer Zara, where the film vehemently and vividly visaged out a visionarily worst phenomena as the long-lasting love revives and rekindles itself in a sentimental scene for the eyes of everlasting eras that echoes enormous and endless emotions just through the meeting moments of those two expressive eyes. The film Dunki, on the other hand, lacks this epic and enamored emotional depth, where it nowhere comes close to replicating and recreating the reverence Veer Zara rendered its audiences all those years ago. The thing that let me down the most here is the drafty direction of Rajkumar Hirani that can be critically complimented upon its scratchy screenplay that fails to put up a heart and soul to its purposeful premise that had so much potential piled up for its pivotal path, but which fails to deliver upon the defining destination that it had so courageously undertook. There are certain glimpses of the old Rajkumar Hirani that we all know of that are wonderfully witnessed here, like the one when the courageous characters finally embark upon their daring and dangerous journey of Dunki, where the high-octane tension and the tremendously thrilling sequence of the dreadful desert leaves you stunningly shocked and compels you to be absolutely absorbed in its moments of massive tension. I was particularly left impressed by the underwater sequence that the careful characters undertook here to evade the eyes of the commanded checkpoint that seemed to have been particularly positioned there for preventing illegal immigrants from entering into the shores of the foreign soil, where the fierce firing of the gunshots misses its mark by mere meters and makes it up into a spectacular sequence that keeps you completely still and squeezed on the edge of your seats. But unfortunately, such memorable moments are offered just in bits and pieces, where the entire end product is just a pointless paragraph that has been plated upon a substantial slate. Coming to the part of the prominent performances of the film, I felt that the performances were deeply moving and memorable by the film's leading pair, as they strike the correct keys of chords by their compelling chemistry, wherein they are wonderfully complemented upon by the compassionate and caring characters of Buggu and Bali that are brilliantly played by Vikram Kochar and Anil Grover, but it is Vicky Kaushal who stunningly steals the show here with his stellar act of Sukhi, where he strikes an earnest emotional euphony and gives us a cameo that will be cherished for many ages. I'm going with 2 out of 5 for Dunki. If the protagonist had covered and crossed those huge miles in order to land up his loving family on the foreign side, whereas the rash reality had risen out of a questionable vibe where the needful natives had come to soar onto the successful skies. The needs that took up the tools of meager means. Hey guys, if you like my video, you can click on the like and share button, and you can also subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss upon these types of videos. Let's come together and celebrate the magic of movies.